How to create a fully functional, beautiful contact form with the implementation of your own data validation, sending the form to email. First, let's create the files index.html, styles.css file, script.js, and PHP file process form.php. Now let's move on to implementing the markup in the HTML file. Set the title of the web page. Inside the body tag, create a div element with the class form container and a heading for the form title. Inside the form container, create a form element with the necessary attributes ID, action, method, and no validate. For each input field, create a div with the class form group. Inside each form group, add a label for the input field. Add a corresponding input element with the required attributes. And a span element with a class arrow for displaying validation error messages. After all the form groups, add a button element with the type submit. After the form, add a div element with the ID, success message, and classes success and hidden for displaying a success message upon form submission. Before the closing body tag, include the external JavaScript file for form validation. Now let's move on to implementing styles. Set global styles. Define the font family and background for the entire body. Use Flexbox to center the form both vertically and horizontally. Set the height of the body to the full viewport height and remove any margins. Add an animation for the background gradient. Define the keyframes for the background animation transitioning between two gradient colors. Set the background color with some opacity for the form container. Add padding, border radius and box shadow for a cut-like appearance. Set the width to be responsive with a maximum width. Center the heading text and set its color. Add margin bottom to create space between form groups. Make labels, block label elements and set the color and margin bottom. Set the width to be full for all input fields, text area and select drop down. Add padding, border radius and box sizing for consistent styling. Use flexbox to lay out the checkboxes horizontally with some gap. Style the checkbox labels to align items centrally with some gap and set their color. Set the width to be full for the button. Add padding, border radius and a gradient background. Set the text color, font size and cursor style. Add the transition for smooth, hover and active effects. Change the background gradient on hover. Apply a scale transformation on hover and revert it on active state. Set the color and font size for error messages. Initially hide the error messages. Add padding, background color, text color, border and border radius for the success message. Set the magic top, text alignment, font size and use flexbox to center the content. Initially hide the success message. Now let's move on to implementing the logic in JavaScript. Select the form element using document getElementById. Add an event listener for the submit event. Create a variable isValid and set it to true. This will be used to track the validation status of the form. Select all elements with the class error using document query select all. Loop through each element and set its display style to none to hide any previous error messages. Get the value of the name input field, trim any white space and store it in a variable. Check if the name is empty. If it is, the isValid to false. Set the error message text and display the error message. Get the value of the email input field, trim any white space and store it in a variable. Use a regular expression to check if the email is in a valid format. If it is not, set is valid to false, set the error message text and display the error message. Get the value of the message text area, trim any white space and store it in a variable. Check if the message is empty. If it is, set is valid to false, set the error message text and display the error message. Get the value of the agenda, select drop-down and store it in a variable. Check if the agenda is empty. If it is, set is valid to false, set the error message text and display the error message. Check the value of is valid. If it is false, call event prevent default to prevent the form from being submitted. Add an event listener for the load event on the window object. Check if the URL contains a success parameter using URL search params. If the success parameter is present, remove the hidden class from the success message element to display it. Now open the terminal and enter the command to install PHP Melee via Composer. If you don't have Composer installed, you need to install it first to manage PHP dependencies like PHP Melee. Running Composer requires PHP Melee. Download the PHP Melee library, updates your composer.json and composer.log files, and installs the library. Now let's move on to implementing form processing and sending the completed form to email. Use the use statements to include the necessary PHP Melee classes. Require the composer autoload file to load PHP Melee. Check if the require method is paused to ensure the form has been submitted. Use the trim function to remove any white space from the form data. Retrieve the form data from the post superglobal array. For the interests field, check if it's set and use implode to convert the array into a comma-separated string. If not set, use none. Create an empty array errors to store any validation errors. Check if the name field is empty and add an error message to the errors array if it's check if the email field is empty or not a valid email using filter var. Check if the message field is empty and add an error message if it is. Check if the agenda field is empty and add an error message if it is. If the errors array is empty, proceed to send the email. Create a new instance of the PHP Melee class. Configure the SMTP server settings including the host, authentication, username, password, encryption, and port. Set the sender email. Add the recipient email. Set the email to use HTML. Set the email subject. Create a beautiful HTML email template. Use the send method to send the email. If the email is sent successfully, redirect the user to the index page with the success query parameter. If there is an error sending the email, catch the exception and display the error message. If there are validation errors, loop through the errors array and display each error message in a red paragraph. As a result, we created a fully functional, beautiful contact form with the implementation of its own data validation, sending the form to email.